Welcome. It's getting late here over at UNEA-2, but things are still all go. Still crazy. Hardly getting any sleep, but we're near pretty much at the end of everything's standing up.
Yep, it's the last day of was today, so we're kind of unwinding for tomorrow.
So to introduce myself, my name's Piet Ubels, and
I'm Robert Singh.
And while I was busy quite often with a lot of the delegations and running around amongst the group, I unfortunately missed out on going to a lot of the Sustainable Expo stuff. But thankfully, Robin here, he's got that blog out there. He's found a lot of cool things, and we thought it might be a good idea for Robin to sort of run through a bit of what he's discovered.
Yeah.
This is really exciting stuff, isn't it?
Great stuff, great eye-opening stuff, very solutions focused, rather than the policy stuff that we generally tend to be the focus of these meetings. There was a side event, we had industry leaders, so people who are right in the game, coming and presenting what they're doing and offering the solutions. Basically, which was great. So one of the most exciting things that came out of this was sky mining. A relatively new concept. I was quite skeptical when I first read about it.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea behind that is that we pretty much mine the carbon out of atmosphere through the use of grass. And this is how? So how that works is it's an elephant grass, which is native to Africa, and that has proven that from all grasses around the world has got the highest absorption rate of CO2. And another great thing about that grass is that it can be grown in pretty much any condition on a mediocre land. It does not require a high or a rich productive land. All it needs is sunlight and a decent amount of water, nothing too much. So the idea, the proposal behind sky mining is that you grow the grass, and the grass is harvested every 3 months. Given it's on a marginal land, there is an excess of water, nothing too great. Rich in Africa, there is abundance of such marginal land. After 3 months, it gives you, harvest the grass, and Sky Mining, the company, they have patented technology, they've created this machinery, it's a factory unit, which is patented technology, that turns the grass into a fossil fuel, like a coal, a charcoal.
Yeah.
So, but what it does is, but it's a carbon negative charcoal.
How so?
How so is because when it absorbs the carbon from the atmosphere, it becomes carbon neutral, carbon negative.
Yeah.
And so when they harvest it, it looks like a fossil fuel, but when you burn it, it has no emissions. So what subsequently you're doing is you're absorbing the carbon from the atmosphere, you're cutting the grass, you're turning it into fuel, and then you're selling the fuel on. And the fuel is cheaper than coal.
Wow.
So, but it needs to be done on quite a large scale in order for it to be profitable. Now, but the great thing is it's hard for an individual person to do because of the amount of land that's required. But it's an ideal for African governments to do, as they have plenty of marginal land. Africa in the world has got the highest amount of charcoal burn, the clay burns, what they call it, the animal manure cakes that they make for cooking, plus the twigs and stuff. So 90% of Africa, like especially in the rural side, they still rely on those prehistoric methods of cooking, of open fires, which adds a massive CO2 and methane.
And huge amount of
black carbon particles as well. So the solution this place offers is that certainly for the governments and marginal land, they're turning it into productive land, and because the CO2 is getting absorbing into the ground over the years, it makes the soil more rich as well, because all the carbon that has come into the soil now, which wasn't there before. It also stops soil erosion, because now you have vegetation with it. It's a win-win situation. Plus, you harvest the grass, it gets turned into this fossilized fuel, it does not give out CO2 emissions. So technically you're in a win-win situation. The government make money out of it. Nothing great, I would say, but at least something's better than nothing. Plus you're making your land more productive. Plus you're getting the biggest problem that Africa has with pollution is the open stoves, which I thought was really exciting.
When this here, obviously you spoke about Africa, but I can clearly see this being applied elsewhere. I mean, so my own research in Nepal was he runs on those sort of open stovetop.
You're right, but you also got to consider that the reason why I say in Africa, and that's a question I asked him, is like the guy who's come up with the technology itself, he said it's great around the world. But then I talked to another scientist, a professor from University of Oxford who was there, happened there as well. I spoke to him, yes, I do, and spoke to him, and he mentioned that there's one big problem if you take it overseas is that it kills the biodiversity, because suddenly if you're having this massive piece of land where you're solely doing it for purposes of business, it has effects of biodiversity. And therefore I suggested Africa because it's native to Africa, plants, the vegetation, everything is used to that grass being here. For us to take it overseas, we are creating issues for the local vegetation as well, because it's almost turning into what you call it a threat to sort of species.
You don't want to introduce anything foreign.
And to introduce anything foreign. Plus you're trying to, or you're either using your, because generally within Asia and Nepal, most of the ground is quite productive. They don't have marginal lands there, because they're mostly around the equator.
Sure.
So therefore I suggested around Africa, it will work well.
Can you, I mean, is there any sort of equivalence in New Zealand or?
Equivalent of?
Oh, wait, do you, I mean, obviously it gets applied well in Africa, but do you think you're looking to sort of similar sort of species or equivalent?
For New Zealand, no, because I mean, for us it's much more profitable for us to have, purely in terms of profit, for us to have agricultural or dairy land to use that.
Sure.
And plus I would never suggest to use it on a productive land. We always use it on a marginal land which is sitting waste, so you're creating that win-win situation. You're not taking the food security or farm or any other security out of the equation, trying to grow this grass and make money out of it. So the whole idea is that it's almost an incentivized version of combating global warming.
Nice. Alright, that's really exciting.
Yeah.
I look forward to hearing more from them, I suppose, and yourself on that.
Yeah, definitely. And something I add on to that, so currently Senegal is in talks with them. They have donated the land.
Sweet.
So they're going to do a first large-scale rollout. They're currently also talking Kenyan government as of last week. So ministers and stuff approached them, because that was my question, that if it's so great, why the solution hasn't worked for, why haven't you approached Africa for it? And his answer was that it's only been a month since we had the final results came out and everything is in place, and that was his first visit to Africa.
Australia is the future.
So possibly, really possibly the future, especially within Africa, especially for Africa. So it's exciting stuff. And while I was there, actually, another thing that might interest you as well, I mean, it blew me away, was Planet Labs. It's a company, it's a satellite company. They have created, sorry, I don't have probably this big satellite. I literally mean this big, and it's a square. It's a long square. Sorry, a rectangular square.
Yep.
So that long and this big, got about 8 solar panels on it.
Wow.
So the idea of them is that they will be launching a fleet of about 150 of those satellites up into space in a matter of about 18 months, and that satellite will take photo of every single part of Earth every day for 365 days.
Wow, okay.
So what it does is that we as a country or an organization go, you buy the rights for them, or EA's rights, and every single day, whichever part of land you want of your country, you will get photos sent to you. Now, for us living in New Zealand, it's not that much of a beneficial, because I mean, we're far away from the rest of the world. We are pretty standard. I mean, we don't have any illegal trade issues. We don't have any borders with anyone. So the only issue we have is our marine borders. But given we are so far out, and given Australia is right next to us as well, and we both have good navies, that we don't really have any wanderers or coming onto our shores. But if you were to bring it in context in like the Middle East or Europe or even Africa, the options, it's humongous, the opportunities. Simply because you can sit there and track your illegal trade, you can track your border patrolling, you can track who's entering country, you can track refugee crisis, you can track with the US, especially the Mexican border smuggling.
So moving this into sort of more relevant towards the environmental part, simply that we're at.
So in terms of environmental, I mean, we know in a lot, especially in South America, there's a lot of illegal activity that happens within the Amazon rainforest, within all the rainforests, illegal mining that causes problems with illegal mercury and stuff into the soil, and illegal deforestation, wildlife trade. It often happens in the close border countries, especially within Africa, where the animals have been stolen or.
I can imagine that you could use this technology. I mean, to me, it just seems like Google Maps on crack. But
Pretty much it is.
But I can imagine using this technology to sort of keep a track eye on even like herds of animals or so forth. You can just start counting them.
Exactly. So all it does is every single angle, one photo each day, and you can just sit there and compare it on that particular day. How did that location look like? And from that, you can easily trace back. You can easily pick up the movement, pick up the patterns of either illegal trade or illegal activity that's happening within the vicinity of your country.
So who can access this? Can I access this?
And the great thing was, if a country gets it right, they open it up to all the public amenities within, so universities, the government departments, the schools, they all have access to it.
Do they have to? Is that part of their conditions?
There's not, a government would have to, that's something that they say that they would prefer, but end of the day, the government is adamant they don't want to, won't have. But there is an option that they were open to not charge every single organization the money. They just wanted to have one single contract that goes for one country, and then it's up to that country if they want to open it to all its public service, all the places it wants to open. So their point coming is we're not here to charge every single organization for these images. So that was something that was not quite environmental related, but it has several implications that it can help towards protecting our environment. Given that we are getting into, with the technology and stuff, everything is so connected, everything is so easy, and it has made our lives easy, but it also makes the poachers' lives easy as well.
Sweet. And so, do you have any idea when they're expecting this to run out? Roll out, sorry.
Oh, it's already in space. So they have about 10 fleet of 10s already in space. So they'll be releasing the rest of the 160 over the 18 months.
It's exciting stuff. I understand. I had a good conversation with you in terms of food waste in New Zealand. You spoke to some lawmakers in the US, and you're interested in transferring laws. Would you like to tell our viewers a bit about that?
Yes, as some of you might not know, I'm actually work for Countdown Supermarkets, and working there, one of the biggest things I do is come across is the amount of food that we waste, which is perfectly eatable food. And the reason it goes into waste is because it's approaching this best before dates.
Yeah.
Which legally we can sell it, but basically what a base before date sells is that this food is fine to be consumed, it's perfectly safe, but it might not be as fresh as it was when it was originally packaged.
Sure.
So a lot of supermarkets and a lot of businesses, their base before date is the date that the product should no longer be on the shelf. So it gets chucked up, thrown into the bin, and mostly ends up in a landfill and create excessive landfills. I always wanted to move this product out to the community, because in Auckland we have seen a rise of homeless people who are almost sitting there, they don't have food. So my idea was to get that food, which was perfectly eatable food, in great condition, out to those people. But the biggest problem that especially the companies have is not that they don't want to give it, they're more than happy to give the food out. Nobody likes to see things in waste, but it's the third-party risk that it creates. And what I mean by that is, if, for example, if I was to consume that food today and it passed its date yesterday, and I happen to get sick for some reason, could be directly caused of the food or could not be. I can go and sue and that business is liable for my sickness, whatever happens to me, and not the supplier, because supplier has put the dates, they met the obligations, they put the dates for the consumer on the product, saying that you should not be that this product is no longer basically past this before date. So that exposes the business to a huge risk, even though it was done in a good faith.
So how do we get around this?
That's what I was thinking. That's what I was thinking. I couldn't get an answer for it, and it's only till I went to this food event. A lawmaker from the US, she said that they lobbied US governments to come up with this law, which is known as a Good Faith Act. So the idea behind that act is that any food or any eatable items that has been donated in a good faith to the community for purposes of community, And because of that, and because of the food, if anybody in the community gets sick, the business is not exposed to the risk because the food was donated in a good faith. And I thought that was an amazing initiative that our government can do, because the amount of food that goes to waste, in that presentation it came up that 48% of all food goes to waste that has been produced, and there are different cycles. It goes from production to its supply chain to its storage to the retail and to the final consumers.
That's lost along the way.
So stuff is lost, a lot of stuff is lost along. So by the time the estimated figure came out to be developed countries, 48% of all food that is produced goes to waste. Now you can think about the implications, the amount of resources that goes to produce that the food, which is going straight to the waste. And if we can get that food out towards the communities who need the most, it's a win-win situation. It's great, and that's something that I really want to go back in New Zealand and try to drive it forward. That if you can get some sort of lobby group or some sort of government intervention into this, that they can support this act in a way that it becomes, and suddenly every single food business in New Zealand, and I can guarantee you that, will be up and supporting and sending all of their food out to these people who really need it but can't afford it.
Well, I mean, these are the things that we want in the world. This is the future,
Yes.
and I'm pretty glad. I mean, I have to say, if you make any headway on this food, I mean, I haven't seen want to support you. I want to be your partner in doing this.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as I say, I'm a private sector guy, no understanding of politics, and as you just mentioned, that you're planning to stand up for a local election. So yeah, so definitely exactly. So definitely the political context will come in handy as I don't know my way around the political boundaries of our country. So yeah.
Excellent. All right. Well, obviously some really exciting stuff coming through here. Thank you very much, Robin, for explaining it all, and we'll hear from us later. Cheers.
Vote for Piet.